Hey, happy Finish Friday, everybody, and I want you to know that I'm really excited to be able to show you something today that's a little bit out of the ordinary. We've never gone into faux finishing, but I know that there are a lot of you out there that love doing finishes. You love rescuing and restoring furniture, so I'm going to show you how to create a faux tortoiseshell. Malachite, faux tortoiseshell, travertine, lapis, all those type finishes are coming back into vogue and finding their way onto home decorative decor pieces, and definitely can be something that we're going to be using on painted furniture as well. So, remember as always, if you're catching us live, it is 12 noon Central Standard Time. We're coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we're on Instagram, and we've got Facebook here. This is your opportunity to be able to ask questions live. So I'm going to be going over something that you probably never heard of before, never have seen it, but you're going to get excited and you're going to want to be able to use this process and this technique on some of the furniture that you are rescuing and restoring, or maybe a lamp or a box for that matter. So be sure and ask questions. And my very able camera people here will ask me those questions so I can answer them live. There are no dumb questions. Everybody learns from somebody else's questions. So, and also tell me where you're from. Send me some love. Let me know what city you're from, so that way it helps me in my marketing efforts. It helps me to be able to see where my peeps are. So today we're going to be showing you how to do, again, faux tortoiseshell. And faux, F-A-U-X, it's not pronounced fox, it's pronounced faux, meaning, because that's a French word. So faux, or trompe-l'oeil, which is also a French term, is to fool the eye. So we are creating something that will look like tortoiseshell, which is very collectible and very rare, and even tortoiseshell boxes that you see now in little antique shops. So I'm going to be using several different products. Today I'm going to be starting with my Brisson Red lacquer, which my board has been painted in this gorgeous Brisson Red lacquer. It's a bright color. It's also a beautiful smooth surface. When you're going to be doing tortoiseshell, it's going to be best that you work with a surface that doesn't have a real absorbent surface like a matte paint. You can use the one step. I've got this over here because usually you're going to see two kinds of tortoiseshell. You'll see a yellow and a brown tortoiseshell, and then you'll see more of a boulet, which is a red tortoiseshell, or a boule. So I'm going to be showing you that on this, but if you see a brown and a yellow, you can definitely start with yellow, which our color here is going to be Molly Yellow. That's what you'll start if you want to do the yellow and brown. Another product that we're going to finish it out with is our Bright Idea, but this glazing liquid is going to be a really important product that I'm going to need to be able to have to do this. All right, so this is just a masonite board that we sprayed with the Brisson Red. It's got 2 coats on it. As you know, with our lacquers, they are really high sheen. And this may only have, I think there was some paint under this, and it might not even have 2 coats on it. But it was just enough for me to be able to show you. If you're going to be doing this on a piece of furniture, I prefer that you have 2 coats. And it's going to be more high gloss. So, and you can do this on a lamp as well. So the first thing you're also going to need, after we've base coated it twice, you're going to need some glazing liquid. Glazing liquid is a great product to be able to use in conjunction with our one-step paint because it thins it down, but also it gives a lot of durability to be able to mix with it, and it allows me to be able to have 2 one-steps. You're going to need a brown, and today we're working with the Windsor, which is a Windsor brown, and our black. So we're making a really dark chocolate. Are we good? We're good. Okay. Do we have questions thus far? Okay. All right. So as you can tell, what I've done, I'm going to mix this up so you can see it. I'm going to take just a little bit of my brown here, and then I'm going to take a little bit of my black because I'm wanting to make kind of a dark chocolate, leaning more towards black than I am brown. So you see about the color, I'm going to put just a little bit more black in here, and then you're going to mix your paint up. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take some of the glazing liquid. So I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to add. So we are making a glaze. We've done this before, and many of you have watched. A glaze is usually going to be 1 part water to 1 part glaze to 1 part paint. When doing the tortoiseshell, it's going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to tell you why. You see that I've got 3 different bowls here. Now, you're going to need 3 different glazes. They're going to be the same color. Hang with me. They're going to be the same color. I want you to mix up your brown and your black all at one time, and if you want to, that way pour a little bit of the paint in each one. But then you can add your glazing liquid. So we'll have 1 part paint, which is whatever color we mix, the brown and the black together, 1 part paint, 1 part glaze, but then each one of these I want you to add more water. So as you know, this is my regular tap water, Memphis water. It's one of the best to drink in the world. And this first one, this first glaze that I'm going to do, I want to do 2 to 3 parts water. So that way it's going to be a little bit thinner. The second glaze that I have is going to be a little bit thicker, and then the third is going to be the thickest. So the third is going to be okay to be 1 part paint, 1 part glaze, 1 part water. This is going to be 2 parts water, and this is 3 parts water. Is everybody with me? So that way I'm working in stages as far as going from thinner to thicker. So hang with me. So as before, we've talked a lot about, we're talking about waxing and we're talking about painting furniture. I'm taking you to a new level. Today I'm going to be showing you how to be able to create really cool looking painted finishes and faux finishes, specifically tortoiseshell. I promise this can be a lot of fun. Yes?
Susan wants to know if the water needs to be warm.
It does, Susan, a great question. So Susan's question was, does the water need to be warm? No, it doesn't have to be. It can be lukewarm. It can be, I prefer, anytime I'm mixing paints or glazes or anything, don't work with really cold water. Warmer water or even room temperature can be great. It just makes it blend better. Love that question. Are there any, come on Facebook, are there any questions over here? Okay. Keep Gene busy. Gene's standing behind the camera. We want to make sure he's busy. He's earning his keep doing Facebook Live. Okay. So the first glaze that we're going to be doing is our thinnest glaze, and it's going to be laid over. All right, so hang with me. I'm excited to be showing you this, but I don't want to stress you out either. So notice that I've got an artist brush, and I'm going to load it up with my thinnest glaze. Make sure it's stirred up real good. You know what? I'm not liking that color. It needs to be a little blacker. I'm going to add just a little bit more black paint because I don't want it to be too brown. I'm making a mess here too, aren't I? I'm going to add just a little bit more water because I want it to be, this is my thinnest. So it's got 3 parts water, 1 part glaze, and 1 part paint. So the other thing I want you to remember when you're working with tortoiseshell, there's an apex. So I'm gonna be your teacher for just a second as far as there's an apex. So let's say my wrist and my arm is the apex to the tortoiseshell finish. And it's going to go out, it's gonna radiate out just like our hand does in these directions. So as you're starting to lay in the tortoiseshell finish, you need to think about it always having an apex and radiating out just like your hand does. So it'll act as a really good guide. So you need to decide where's your apex. It's always going to radiate out from somewhere. So it's best to take a corner. Your hand like this is being your apex, and then it's going to radiate out from here. So I can come back in and maybe something this size, maybe it needs to be cut in half. Do I have a little bit of tape? I'm just going to show them. So that way, maybe this side over here, I'll actually flip the board and my apex could be over here. The whole piece is not going to be like tortoiseshell. So one thing I want you to remember, let's imagine a tortoiseshell. Let's imagine our tortoise, our little turtle. And when they would actually use his shell to put on, they would use real thin sheets of that tortoise's shell and lay that over color, and that would become where they would make the box or whatever out of. But his shell itself is very, very thin, and if held up to the light, it's very transparent. And there was always an apex in it, and these, the markings on his shell. You're not going to find a shell that's this huge. Now, of course, there's In certain parts of the world, there's really large tortoises, but as a rule, when they were doing inlays and things, and it was tortoiseshell on jars and boxes and furniture, it was always smaller. So that's how we're going to execute it. All right, so I'm going to lay out just a little piece of tape here. Probably section this off. So if I was doing, let's say, a chest of drawers, a lot of you don't know, if you knew that I had furniture back, I actually designed and manufactured furniture for about 26 years. And I had a cocktail table, and I also had a chest of drawers that I did in faux tortoiseshell, and they were very, very good sellers. So this is something that you could definitely add to your repertoire of finishes. So I'm going to mark that out because main reason for this is I don't want you doing really large sheets of tortoiseshell. We're going to work in this section right here. So I've got my first glaze. I'm going to add just a little bit more water. Remember, my first glaze is going to have 1 part paint, 1 part glaze, 3 parts water. It's going to be the thinnest. So I'm going to use my artist brush, and thinking about my apex again with my hand like this, I want you to you're rolling it. You're rolling this. Look at this. So as I'm rolling it, I'm also thinking about the apex. So it's going to be this first glaze is going to be a little bit thicker and cover up this apex here. Look at this. Here comes a finger. Think about my hand again. Then I'm going to come up in here. Look how I'm rolling my brush. See how I'm rolling it and then allowing it to kind of come to a tip like this. See the direction again? Do you see the hand idea that I'm showing? Here's the apex, and it's growing out from there. That's always what tortoiseshell is going to look like. Are we having fun yet? I hope so. Okay, now let me show you. This is cotton batting. You cannot use a polyester batting. This has to be 100% cotton. Notice what you're going to see in this natural batting. What is that? Seeds. It has little seeds in it. A lot of times you'll see batting at stores and it will have polyester in it. Don't get that. Polyester is going to totally mess it up. I want you to work with 100% cotton batting. So I want you to pull just a little bit, and then I want you to roll it. I want you to roll it like this. So a little bitty bag of this batting is going to go a long way. Are there any questions? Is everybody quiet? Because they're like, okay, this is way too weird for me. When you see a piece of furniture done in this, y'all are going to be like, oh my gosh, I love this. All right, so see how I've rolled it and I've made a little tool like this that I'm going to use. Now, watch this. I want you to have your wrist where it's held over like a puppet, like we're just going to tuck our hand underneath here, and it's this motion. You're flicking it out like this. So tuck your wrist like this with your hand under, and you're going to pull it this way. The reason I'm trying to show you that is because I don't want you dragging it like this. It's an unnatural action of flicking it. So I'm going to go to the top of this apex, and I'm going to start pulling this out like this and making it. Do you see how it's coming out like this? This is a natural, can they see that? As far as where's that's pulled with that batting, and let's pull it out. So this first pass is almost over the entire square, the area that we're working on. So continue as you pull it to go in the direction of the radius that you were working in. And I do want you to cover the entire space. Don't leave any area here that hasn't been touched with that glaze. So it's going to go from darker to lighter. Okay, is everybody with me? So this is our first glaze. Now, guess what? Now we're going to come back and we're going to do our second glaze. I'm going to pull this out just a little bit more. I want to see some of that red underneath. All right. So now we've got our second glaze. What's the second glaze? It's 1 part paint, 1 part glaze, 2 parts water. It's a little bit thicker. Now, this second one is going to be a little bit more coverage. So I'm going to dip. I can use my same artist brush. I'm going to load that up, offload it just a little bit. Same thing again. Remember, if you're just tuning in, the tortoiseshell, we're doing faux tortoiseshell. You've got to have an apex here, and it's going to go out like your fingers. This is the way you want to be able to lay in these nodules that would be on that tortoiseshell. So I'm going to lay this here. Now watch, this second pass is going to be more about the shape and not about a glaze. We've just laid our glaze in. Did y'all see what I just did? It's a rolling and a tipping action of this. It's something that you just have to practice with. So I'm going to lay that in. There again, it's my apex. Let's come out here. So I'll roll it and I'll just bring that brush up a little bit. This is kind of the action as I'm showing you. You'll want to lay the brush like this. You can have some markings that are smaller, like that. You could have even some that you'll lay in that third time that might be like that. You might even have some that are wider as you roll it just a little bit, where it's a little thicker at the base, and it comes up like that. You're going to have all these different kinds of markings eventually at the end of your tortoiseshell. All right. So remember again, as I'm laying this in, I'm making it look like an apex. Looks like my hand. And then I'm going to start doing these individual markings that we talked about. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take my batting. Notice the other thing, it's going to be thicker here, and then it's going to, as it radiates out, it's going to be a little bit thinner. I'm going to take a little bit more batting, like this, my natural batting. Don't use it if it has any polyester in it. I'm going to roll this up, tuck your arm under like this, your hand, and then I want you to just pull the top of that nodule, not the whole thing. Can you see that? Just pull the top of that, like that. Just pull the top out like this. There you go. Leave the base of that thicker and just pull the top. And as you start to layer this, I promise it starts having the coolest finish. As it starts to dry down a little bit, it's going to go matte. But once we come back and seal it, it's going to be so cool. All right, so that's our second pass. And then your last glaze that you're going to lay in, this one is 1 part paint, 1 part glaze, 1 part water. So it's the thickest. Yes?
Susan wants to know, how long do you let each layer dry?
As a rule, after 20 minutes or so, as it starts to dry down, I can, like if I'm working on a box like this, I can keep working. It dries fairly quickly because it's thinned down quite a bit. So while I'm working in this step, this particular stage, I'm probably over here working on this stage as well, or I'm working on this other area. I'll be honest with you, when one of the chests that we had, it was a fairly simple chest. Now, if you're working on doing faux tortoiseshell, not fox, faux tortoiseshell, on a piece of furniture, on a box, on a lamp or whatever, the lines of the piece need to be simple. You don't want to go get a piece of furniture that is ornamental or has a lot of detail on it. The reason for doing faux tortoiseshell and working in panels like this in sections is because the piece is very simple, and this is going to add a lot of drama to it. But I had a very simple 3-drawer rectangular boxy chest, and I think it retailed for almost $7,000. It was beautiful, and we would come and tape it off on that simple rectangle drawer, and it would have a border of a faux tortoise on it, and then it was broken up into 3 sections with apexes like this. It was a spectacular piece of furniture, very collectible. And so I love the fact that malachite and tortoiseshell and lapis and all those type faux stone and animal finishes are coming back. Even the tortoise can be done, and you can almost do like a cheetah type look too, and leopard in the same category as far as doing these washes and glazes. So love that question. All right. So last but not least, this is my thickest glaze. I'm going to offload it just a little bit. And I'm not going to go in as much. I'm just going to lay in very strategic glazes this last time, or nodules. So I'm going to lay that in. This is my thickest one. I'll come back in here. It's going to be a little bit thicker and more solid. This is when I'll also turn my artist brush up just a little bit, and I'll do these little like dots. I don't do just one. I usually either do them in a pair, or see, like just like that, small, maybe 3 of them like that. That's it. Don't all do them all the same size. Just kind of lay in 1, 2, maybe a tiny one, 3. Don't overdo that. You shouldn't do in an area like this, you shouldn't do over 3 or 4 at the most. And then I can still come back in, lay in a nodule, lay it down at its base, fan the brush like this, let it get big, and then pull it up like that. Like this, pull it up. And then I'll still come back with my batting. Right now it just looks messy, and I apologize. And just pull that top out like that. All right, so this will dry down. Right now it looks like it's at a lot of different levels. It's going to all dry down flat, and you're going to have this beautiful design that you're seeing, a lighter, a medium, and a thicker glaze on the top. And then once it's completely dried for about an hour, I'm going to come back and I'm going to take my Bright Idea. This is a clear lacquer that will come back and it will coat the whole thing, but what's going to happen, not only will it protect it, but it's going to make it come to life. It's going to come shiny again, and you're going to see all the beauty of all the nodules that you did in creating this faux tortoiseshell. So I'm going to be doing some pieces of furniture. I'm going to do some boxes. I'm going to put together a drawer front. I'm going to let you see how you do a border and how you do sections. I promise there's so many of you that are furniture flippers. You do this to make extra money and for a living. And there are some of you that just love the fact that you are rescuing and restoring some of the 30 million tons of furniture we throw away in this country every year. This is going to up your game. You're going to up your game big time by learning how to be able to create specialty finishes. Your clients, especially if you do work for designers, they're going to want to know that you can do this. This is also a great finish on mats. Like I'll rescue an old picture frame and maybe paint the frame itself, but then the mat, do faux tortoiseshell on the mat, and then have some negative space, and then have your piece of art. You can actually do faux tortoiseshell on a picture frame as well, as long as just make sure that it's a nice flat picture frame. That's a great place to start with doing faux tortoiseshell, and then work your way up to actually doing the furniture. So let me know if you want to learn how to be able to do this. Also, this forum, if you're not on our before and after group, please join our before and after group. Tell me finishes that you want to learn how to do. Many of you know I've been doing this for over 30 years, about 35 years, and there's not a finish that I don't know how to do, and I love being able to teach our students how to be able to recreate those with the Amy Howard at Home line of products. Have a fantastic Friday, everybody, and a great weekend.